Hi, this is Emily Bauman, and I am an outgoing state committee woman. I'm actually finishing up my second term as on Michigan State Committee. And 2 years ago, Kristen and I did a video, and we chose to do it again, where we do give the one question to all of the chair candidates, something we feel is not being asked at any of the forums. So um, I'm going to let Kristen tell you a little bit more about how the format went and what we did. And so you can actually use this as an educational tool for you, the delegates who are going to be voting next week on the 22nd for our chair. And maybe this will give you a little bit more information, or maybe it'll spark some more questions that you need to then call them and ask. So, Kristen?
I'm Kristen Lee, also finishing up my second term on the MRP State Committee. Again, it is our hope that this video would be helpful to you as you discern who is the next best chair for the Michigan GOP. The format was that the candidates were invited to the Zoom call. On the Zoom call, we shared the question with them, asked if they wanted to proceed. Then we hit record. They heard the question for a second time, and then had as much time as they wanted to answer the question. We didn't do any follow-up questions with them. That's for you to do as they come to your mind, to reach out to the candidates to ask any follow-up questions. So to clarify, none of the candidates were given the question before they hopped on the Zoom call with us. And the candidates are on this video in order that they scheduled their appointment with us. So we hope that this is helpful to you and that you enjoy it. And if you'd like more from Kristen and Emily, you can hop over to a YouTube channel called 12 Trees, which written out 12 Trees, etc., etc., where we have some podcasts teaching about the different roles in the GOP and committees. So again, hope this encourages you, and enjoy.
For context, we know the MRP has a method to determine what races and candidates they provide resources and support to in the general election. We also know that many delegates across the state have worked very hard to support candidates in districts that either just fall shy or are outside of that striking distance, but are moving the needle in the right direction, closing the gap.
So let's take you forward. It's now August of 2026, the day after the primary election. Since your election to MIGOP chair in February of 2025, you have been working to equip, embolden, and grow the Michigan Republican Party, especially in the areas outside of the MRP target windows. What are those things you have done or are doing to support the momentum and keep those delegates and activists energized and trusting the party?
I am barnstorming across the state of Michigan. I am showcasing the beautiful win that President Trump had in 2024, the series of successes that he has stacked up like cordwood in policies and executive orders, the impacts that they've had both domestically and internationally, further giving a broader demarcation between who we are as Republicans and who they are as Democrats, giving the voters an even clearer choice. I would also be barnstorming around Michigan with officials from the Trump administration. This is their job. I am a bridge builder. I have contacts there. I'm in touch with the political office in the West Wing, as well as the RNC. And in these critical election cycles, like the one we are in Michigan right now, this is just how it happens. It has happened for time immemorial. So it's a very plug and play situation. They have their eyes all on swing states like Michigan. And this is a function of this being the greatest, I think, midterm election in decades for Republicans to really reshape state leadership and federal leadership by the election officials. This is the first time we've had an open U.S. Senate seat and an open governor's race. We have critical races down ballot from there. Secretary of State, Attorney General, 3 competitive congressional seats. We have a House majority led by Speaker Matt Hall that can be built upon. Having won the 35th special election district, that leaves the Senate tied. It's boxed in Governor Whitmer into a lame duck, and we can build on that. And what this also does is that it is a very important stage setting for 2028. The time at which President Trump will, some say he'll run for re-election again, because this will be his second consecutive term, perhaps, or will it be in traditional likelihood Vice President Vance? So it really will solidify the footing in the critical swing state of Michigan for that objective as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I am barnstorming across.
First of all, the first part of your question, I think, is really important. When you talk about that method that the party uses to determine the resources to help our candidates. One of the first things that I learned that I did not know when I went into leadership under co-chair with Chairman Ron Weiser was I did not know that the party's resources were basically a set number. You know, the chairman raises a certain amount of money. You can't count on outside money at that point leading into the primary. And they have to decide what is the best use of that money. There was a time historically with the Michigan Republican Party, I think, I would have to go back and read, but I think there was a time when the party sat on millions, if not tens of millions of dollars every cycle. We had large donors that funded the party, and we had very robust fundraising. And it was really just an attitude of we can throw money at candidates up and down the ticket, and we can help a lot more. Lately, and mostly since we've had so much turmoil within the Republican Party, not just in Michigan, but nationwide, a lot of those donors have pulled back under that cycle where I was with Chairman Weiser. You have to remember when he became chairman that time, it was literally 3 weeks after January 6th. And the entire world and the entire Republican Party was just in absolute chaos. January 6th gave huge donors, especially corporate donors, but even a lot of just traditional big donors, every excuse in the book to not donate, to not give money. They all pulled back. And so, you know, Chairman Weiser had thought and told me he was going to raise $10 million that cycle. It turned out that he was not able to do that, that using the excuse of the insurrection and your co-chair is too far Trump and whatever other reason they could, they pulled back and did not donate. And so we went through our convention, we went through our process, we had good candidates for Secretary of State, Attorney General, judicial candidates, and immediately I had delegates reaching out to me saying, where is the money? Where is the money for our Secretary of State candidate? Where is the money for our Attorney General? And I learned the harsh reality that if the party is not sitting on tens of millions of dollars, the party doesn't have the resources to support these candidates financially. And truthfully, it is the candidate's responsibility to fundraise. So, you know, people who are considering running for these really big seats, I think that they think they're going to get through the primary. And even if somebody's telling them, because I know people were telling them, you're not going to get, you know, all of this money from the party. And then they turn and they're looking for outside donations, which is great. And it would be great if we had outside, you know, letter organizations pouring money into our state. I believe this cycle we will. But if that doesn't happen, and if they are not able to get the confidence of those organizations, then it's all on them. So party resources, I believe, will help us with the down ticket. I would like to, if I am chair, focus on some of these nonpartisan races. I would love for our party to be more involved with school boards, library boards, city councils, county commissioners. The nonpartisan races would be a huge boost to our party. But then leading me up to the primary itself, we get through the primary. I also think I'm in a unique position to help in this, in that I've sat on different sides of this issue. So I'm married to a state representative. Because of that, I know exactly what it's like to fight in very hard primaries. And my husband and I obviously were also very involved in trying to help a lot of other local candidates like state representatives get over that finish line. So because of that, I was able to watch, from an outside view, the way the party works, helping candidates, the way that HRCC works, the way that our Senate committee works in fundraising. And so I think I bring a unique perspective in knowing what it's like for the party to work well with HRCC and to not work well. I am very grateful that I have a good, strong relationship with Senate Majority Leader Eric Nesbitt. I have a great relationship with our Speaker of the House, Matt Hall. My husband and Matt Hall are talking to each other all the time. Because of that, I sort of get the inside track of what's going on. I am very excited that I will be leading the party, and I will be bringing that relationship and that I want to work very close with our HRCC. There's nothing more important than maintaining this majority in the House, maybe even growing the majority in the House. I know we can do it, and I feel like I'll be able to get good advice to that. So some of the complaints I've heard are that there were mailers sent into homes that had absolutely nothing to do with the area that they were being mailed into. Some very repetitive mail was happening in people's homes, things like that. I'm not sure who made those decisions because I wasn't there, but I know that it probably comes down to leadership within the House Republican Committee and also within state party. And I feel like that's something I'll be able to help with. Marketing is something I'm very strong in. And, the message that we're giving to people up north is not the same as the message we're giving to people in Plymouth, and it shouldn't be. And if we're going to spend money and very hard-earned resources on helping our candidates, I think we should be very careful about what the messaging is and not being afraid to just do mediocre, soft messaging across the whole state. The only other thing I think I can offer is that I have worked really hard on local races and helping candidates that are in areas traditionally where we kind of ignore them. I don't do that. My husband and I haven't done that. One of the things I'm very proud to say is because of this race, I did some research on donors, and I've personally donated over $90,000 in the last 20 years to candidates, everywhere from school board all the way up to governor. And I've also donated for 20 years to our Michigan Republican Party, whether I liked the leadership or not. And I'm telling you that that is something that neither of my opponents will be able to say, because I also looked up their donors and their donations. And maybe they were able to raise a lot of money. All three of us have raised a lot of money over the years. They have not personally donated to candidates the way that I have. And I think that it shows that I have a passion for Republicans winning and getting elected. And I'm willing to support them financially, even though we are not wealthy people. So that being said, I'm just really excited about this election. You actually get me excited just thinking about getting to that day in August. I can't wait to see what our ticket is, and I can't wait to fight so hard for them to win and for us to win everything back in November of 2026.
Thank you.
That's a great question, because I've seen this every single cycle, because the bandwidth of, say, the House Republican Committee in Michigan and the Senate Republican Committee only have resources to go so far, and they have to be very, very targeted on their races. So they don't have the bandwidth to hit, as you described, these races that are slightly out of that margin. Emily Bauman being one of them. I did help and raise money for Emily in her race for that exact reason. She fell out of that range when she ran for the Senate. I also, in the last couple of cycles, have been working with school board candidates, training and recruiting them in Oakland, Macomb, and Kent County, because there they usually get no help at all. And these races are extremely important, not only for our kids, our grandkids, but also as a farm team, starting at that low level of low in terms of the typical scheme of things, low level of elected of office, and then moving them up to higher and higher levels. So that is something I would be focusing on, is all the way down to these school board races. These other nonpartisan races that nobody really does anything for, state party can have a huge impact on these. And part of that is I would get all of these nonpartisan races, in particular the judiciary. So we have district and circuit court judges, appeals court judges, all the way up to the Supreme Court judges, that nothing is being done. It's why we got wiped out the last cycle with the Supreme Court. We had two great candidates. One of their opponents, Cara Banks, was completely corrupt beyond belief. There was no money in those races in order to get the word out, and we got crushed. We've got new Supreme Court candidates coming up, plus all of these other nonpartisan races. I would ask all the counties and districts to send those, after we know who they are after the August primary, all of those names. We would aggregate those. We would put files together for each one of those counties and districts, send the files out to print shops locally within those counties, pay for those, as many as they can get out. They will then pick those up, start distributing them, put them in bags, whatever method they have, be at the polling places handing these out, because we have a real issue with not supporting these nonpartisan races where we have extremely important candidates, not only the school board, but in particular is the judiciary. We're getting slaughtered by the judiciary. We have had case after case that gets thrown out for lack of standing. I was one of those on an election fraud case. They just said lack of standing. This is what is happening with now this overwhelming Democrat control of the Supreme Court. So we got an opportunity to make a difference, not only in the Supreme Court, make a difference to the rest of the judiciary down the ballot, all these other nonpartisan races. This is something that I have not seen the state party focusing on, but it's extremely important because we had a Republican tsunami this last time. They didn't have any funding. They didn't have any help. A lot of it because of consultants taking money out of the party that would have won these races day one. I will make sure that money is going to be all put to winning these races and not taken by a consultant. And that's the best answer I can give you.